All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Board of Advisors podcast. Today we have Ben Lee coming from Palm Beach, 4bpm.com. He is the Intel Inside for many different healthcare providers, whether it be your doctor, your chiropractor, your anti-aging, any of the professionals where you're seeking health and wellness. Welcome to the show today, Ben. Looking forward to jumping into what makes your platform so special.
Thanks for the invite. Always love sitting with you, Mike.
Good. What I heard from you as we were getting ready for the show was the personalized preventative play. That's really where you fall into the relationship with the client, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you service all across U.S. And you make it fit for each individual. Let's talk about how are you doing that?
Well, we believe that everybody's body is infinitely intelligent and it can heal itself as long as you know, obviously, what questions to ask and how to interpret that data. If you take that data and then you meld it, whatever it is they want to accomplish short term, literally, we can help them accelerate whatever they want to accomplish that much more quickly because we're just giving the body the raw materials that it needs to operate at its highest. I mean, it's not rocket science, but it's such a paradigm shift from what traditional Western medicine is. And, I have 4 physicians in my family, so I'm the black sheep in a way because I didn't go to medical school. And it's like the conversations at Thanksgiving dinner are always interesting.
No, they all work for you. No.
No. Try not to mix that too much.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean when you say Intel Inside? How does that work? Because you've got a great process, you've got a great team, you have I would say it's not really even a boutique service, but it's a very personalized service. How does the Intel Inside come into play?
Well, what we're trying to accomplish is being a white label, plug and play health and wellness solution provider for providers. So for doctors, chiropractors, wellness influencers, anybody that has a base of clients that are looking to feel better. And what we're doing is, we'll do all the marketing on their behalf. We'll create a newsletter on their behalf. We'll actually educate their patients on them. Where if you think about it, the average interaction between a patient and provider is about 16 minutes in the U.S. I call BS on that because it's more like 5 minutes, right? And then 11 minutes on paperwork to get paid by the insurance company. So they don't have the time nor the resources to educate their patients. So we're actually going to take that on ourselves. So their existing healthcare practice is actually going to get better and more efficient because they're not going to ask questions that they learn through us.
Sure.
Right? So there's not going to be any dumb questions. So the quality of those interactions of all our providers in our network are going to get better. So it's actually more efficient. And we're actually building an app and a web-based platform where anybody can upload their labs. And it'll actually populate specifically, based on their lab results, videos to explain if your biomarkers are high, if they're low. It'll tell you why it's happening, and then obviously symptomology.
Well, the labs is where it all starts, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So coming into a relationship with you, you start with great data, and then you begin to work from there based on goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people always ask me, like, hey, what would you recommend for me? Like, I have no idea. Your body's going to tell me.
Yeah.
Right? Because remember we had that conversation? And until your body tells me, I have no idea. So it could be as little as nothing, right? And again, I told you about that one story. The guy was 32, vegan, owned an organic coffee company, meditated 3 hours a day, and his labs are perfect. So I said, listen, come back to me in 10 years.
Yeah.
Whereas other people, obviously, that's only happened once.
Yeah.
Most people need a lot more help.
Yeah.
So it just really depends on how well you've taken care of your body. And even if you do, unfortunately, the U.S. food system isn't that great either. So, it's hard to get the nutrients we need on a daily basis from our diet.
So what do you find as we begin to age? Is it a deficiency issue and you're just plugging the holes? What becomes the problem as we're aging?
Well, first of all, it starts with genetics.
Okay.
Right? So your genetics are your starting point. You start that when you're born. And sometimes a lot of the symptomology doesn't creep up until you're later, later in life. So you might have that deficiency that entire time from being a baby to adolescence to young adult, and then it doesn't really manifest until much later.
Sure.
And obviously, as we get older, things don't work as well. And where we used to feel amazing, right? Let's say in our late teens, early 20s, mid 20s, that now starts to decline right around that age because, it's what I call the 3 pillars of the fountain of youth. One is testosterone, human growth hormone, and NAD. All 3 of those decrease as you get older. So as long as you replace those levels that you had when you were younger, you're going to feel a lot like you did at that age. I mean, like I said, it's not rocket science, but people don't look at it that way. So just by doing that, you're going to feel a million times better.
And when you say personalized, let's jump into what makes it personalized and then what makes it preventative. Because I think a lot of people are interested in that second one as much as the first one. Because healthcare is, once you have an issue, it's usually not pretty, right? So let's jump into personalized first. What makes this personalized and why is that better?
Because it's driven by what your body tells you. And you can't argue with the data, right? Your blood is just a data set. Same thing with your genetics. Same thing with urine testing, right? So what we do is we take that data and it's literally driven by your body. That's how it's personal. How it's preventative is it's not reactive, right? So normal, traditional allopathic disciplines, that's all reactive, right? If you have pain, then you go to the doctor. If you don't feel right, go to the doctor. Whereas we're actually looking at deficiencies in the body and we're just replacing the levels and optimizing. So we're basically just putting your body at the best version it can be right now. So your body doesn't break down as quickly as if you didn't have those specific vitamins, minerals, or hormones or whatever it may be.
And the other side of that argument is sometimes people say taking all of that stuff can't be healthy. So, we're discussing here how it makes you better, but there's the other side of the coin out there where people are saying there's no way that can be healthy. What is your retort to that? Why is it more healthy to make sure that you have you're filling in those gaps of deficiency?
Because your body needs those materials anyways. And for example, let's say with specific genetics, like let's say the MTHFR gene, right? That basically writes the program which determines if that enzyme can convert, let's say, folic acid to folate. If you have that genetic mutation, you either can't do it properly or at all. So that means you don't have the ability to convert one to another. And at that point, past that point, you really don't have the raw materials that your body needs to operate properly.
Yeah.
And that's why the symptomologies come into play, like ADHD, OCD, anxiety, depression. So that's why your body needs it. It's not like you're putting something that's not supposed to be within your body in your body.
Yeah.
You're putting something that needs to be in there.
Sure.
So that's really the difference.
Interesting. And then preventative. If we're filling these gaps and closing the hole on that deficiency, what are we preventing?
Well, everyone's a little bit different there too, right?
Yeah.
So for example, when we look at people's full genetics, they might have a predisposition to something, right? So let's say you're predisposed to, woman ovarian cancer, right? Let's say your mom had it, grandmother had it. Now you have a predisposition to it. Let's say here's your starting line, here's the finish line.
Gotcha.
Now somebody with better genetics can maybe start back here. But if, let's say, you take care of your body,
your starting line is progressively closer to.
Well, if you're predisposed.
Yeah.
But let's say you're not, predisposed. So you're back here. But let's say you live in a cancer cluster or whatnot. You're not taking care of your body. You can actually reach that endpoint much quicker than this person that's predisposed. So all it is if you understand how what we call epigenetics, that's above genetics, that takes into account diet, lifestyle, environment, even your mindset. You can actually upregulate and downregulate gene expression just through your mindset. That's why you have double placebo tests in every pharmaceutical clinical, because they know how powerful the mind is.
Wild.
So that's why they have to look at that. And a lot of people will take the placebo, and if they believe that that's actually the cure, they'll be able to cure themselves of whatever it is. So Yeah, that's how powerful the mind is.
Is the placebo free?
It can be.
No charge for that one. No, that's where you charge. That's where you charge double, right? Interesting. So your business model, I think, is different. You're doing it differently than the standard age management, the local relationship that you might have with an age management clinic, right? Mm-hmm. You're really looking to partner with all of them,
correct?
Or with the primary players in the major metros or whatever. So what is the benefit to them, right? Is it leaner? Is it better? Why would they want to partner with you on this?
Because if you think about it, 99% of the planet has no idea what's happening in the body. If you don't understand the process that are occurring in here, how in the world can you expect to make educated decisions on your health,
sure,
your wellness, your diet, your lifestyle? Literally, it's impossible.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, most providers or even age management clinics or health and wellness clinics don't spend the time to explain everything to the patients.
Very true.
So the issue is, if you don't understand it, you don't know the consequences of your daily decision, and it's getting you closer or farther away from your goals. So what we do is we spend a lot of time. That's the cornerstone of our patient experience, obviously. Mm-hmm. Before, where you say, hey, listen, this is your biomarker. This is what it is. This is how it correlates to a specific function in your body. Here's how you're going to feel when you optimize.
Correct.
So then after that point, you know what you're doing on a daily basis, getting you closer or farther away from what you want to accomplish. Mm-hmm. So we really are an education company that masquerades as a health and wellness company, because the education is such a huge piece of the process that if you don't have the educational piece, it really doesn't fulfill the patient's goal, as well as if they were or weren't educated.
And is there anywhere like online that education is available, external to actually being a patient? Or
there will be.
There will be.
There will be. Yes.
Okay.
We're working on that too.
Very nice. Very nice. I could see this being a very popular YouTube channel or podcast or something, that just because there's constant, I'm sure, questions. I mean, everybody's gone online and done the self-diagnosis scenario, right?
Yeah. Dr. Google, Dr. WebMD, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And basically you have every disease known to man based on the symptoms.
No matter, it's so funny. So in if we were to future pace, where is this industry really going? You have AI stepping in, playing a major role in a lot of different industries with a lot of different products. It's really disrupting how things are being done. How is that affecting where your industry is going?
Well, I think the ability of AI to predict certain things based on blood labs, based on genetics, is going to be game-changing. Mm-hmm. Because if you see certain patterns occurring, right, and literally just everything we do is pattern recognition.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you're diagnosing symptoms or whatever it may be, it's all pattern recognition.
Right.
So if a computer can do that much more quickly than a human can, I mean, the ability to aggregate all that data and see the minute shifts in, let's say, trends or whatever it may be, that may be a huge game changer for literally the entire world.
So would AI be analyzing the blood tests?
We don't need to right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but eventually, yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And looking for potential opportunities to make things better or be preventative. So you're kind of a unique individual, because from a professional standpoint, you're very social in the sense of, getting out, joining communities, being part of different events. You're very outgoing, and I would say in contrast to kind of the standard doctor or chiropractor or wellness provider. Many times they kind of just stay in their lane and do their thing, and they go industry specific events and things like that. But you being part of, different groups, obviously board of advisors now, where do you see the benefit in collaborating with all these different individuals outside of your industry?
Well, because if you have different perspectives from different people, right, and different experiences, I think that really lends a wealth of just knowledge, experience, as well as just potential value that they bring. Because, for example, I just had a conversation with one of our patients yesterday about his painting business. And, we were literally just talking about business because I was like, hey, I was like really wanted to know, like, hey, what's going on? And, we were able to, kind of talk, and we really delved deep into, it's like, hey, I want to quit smoking. So I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, let's unpack that. So I, gave him a few pointers and whatnot. He's like, okay, that's really powerful. So, to have that, I guess you can say, ability to really connect with just about everybody. Because we really can work with everybody. We work with kids as young as babies, genetics, and people as old as 100 something. So professional athletes, MMA fighters, people like yourself. So we really can work with everybody. That's why I'm always out and about, because everybody can be a patient.
I find, Adam Taylor is another one. He is a wealth manager, but also a great social character, right? People are drawn to him. People are drawn to you. You tend to have a presence of caring, but you educate, you listen well, you ask great questions. I think it's important to have a face like that in front of a brand, right?
Yeah.
What is it that you would potentially advise anyone listening that either, let's just go down the track of, has never really explored what it might look like to get a test, a blood test, look at deficiencies, and begin potentially closing those gaps, right? How would you advise them? How would you encourage them? What would you say to an individual like that listening that is contemplating, is this the right step for me? Because I feel like there's, for example, females out there coming up on, say, like menopause, and they're saying, should I not? And then they, again, go to Dr. Google, and it's like, oh my gosh, nightmare stories. How do you encourage someone to begin the process and then move forward from there?
Well, knowing's half the battle, and you can't improve what you don't measure. So literally, the blood labs or genetics, it's just a data set. You can't argue that, right? It's just what it is, because that is basically the manifestation of all your decisions up to this point, right? So if you don't know where the starting point is, how in the world can you really decide, what it is that you're going to do with the protocol, right? So is it better sleep? Is it more vitamins? Is it hormones? Is it peptides? Is it, generic medicine? Who knows, right? Until you really dig down and say, okay, let me know what you need in here.
Yeah.
Right? The body's going to tell you, but you have to ask the question. If you don't ask the question, you're not going to get an answer.
Yeah. And what if somebody's already receiving some sort of hormone replacement treatment? Why is it wise to consult with you, even if you are already in process with potentially, getting a second pair of eyeballs?
Sure.
Why is that wise?
Okay, so I'll explain two examples. So one of my friends from the Tony Robbins organization, he's a platinum partner.
Sure.
He was going to somebody else. And as I was looking through his protocol, I was like, why are you taking HCG? Right? HCG is a female hormone. And in men, what it does, it actually can increase testicular size and also spermatogenesis, basically increasing sperm. So I asked him, like, hey, do you want bigger balls, or are you trying to get your wife pregnant again? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, then you don't need this. He's like, really? I'm like, no. I'm like, unless you need those two things, or you want those two things, then you're wasting your money. So just to double check whatever it may be is always a great idea to see if the advice that you're getting is sound. And what's been happening a lot is I've been seeing a lot more younger gentlemen in their mid-20s to late 20s, early 30s. What doctors are doing, or HRT clinics or whatever it may be, they're just prescribing testosterone out the gate, which I think is really doing them a disservice, because without looking at certain hormones, like signaling hormones, to see if, let's say, that volume knob is already up, if it's signaling the testes to basically create testosterone and sperm, then that means, yes, they probably do need some sort of testosterone replacement. But if the signal's low, you should try basically turning up the signal first before giving them testosterone.
Versus the cookie cutter, hey, let's just put you on test.
Well, not only that, because there's a negative feedback loop every time you introduce something to your body, in the sense that your body is designed to survive and to hoard resources. We couldn't go on our phones and, back when our ancestors were around, go on DoorDash, go to Whole Foods, right? Open the refrigerator. We never knew when we were getting our next meal. So our body's adapted, and if it recognizes something in the body that it needs to create, if it says it's there, it's like, okay, great. I'm going to take a vacation. I'm going to basically hoard these resources. If I don't need to create it, then what we call a negative feedback.
Right.
So if
it shuts down.
It shuts down, exactly.
Yeah.
If it shuts down, there is a possibility that you can't restart it. So they're actually jeopardizing their potential fertility in the future.
Wow.
Yeah, which is just asinine in my head. Like, why would you do that? Or they just don't know, which is even worse.
Yeah. So it's too much of a blanket approach when really it needs to be a little more personalized.
Correct.
Right. One thing that I would also want to bring to the table here is stem cell. You have individuals saying that it's absolutely changed their lives. You have other people saying, well, it's not even possible or real. Is the stem cell treatment something that really works?
It does. Really does work.
And then what is the controversy there, really? Because some are saying if you don't do it this way, it could never work, and if you don't, use ones that are derived in this manner, So what is that controversy, and which ones actually work? Why does it not work, and why does it work?
So I think it has to do with the FDA.
Okay.
Because if you look at just the U.S. system in general, it's powered by the big lobbying powers, right? So the pharmaceutical companies and the food industry. And when you introduce something that can basically heal the body itself, you're not paying the pharmaceutical companies.
Right.
Right. So they just made a ton of money from the COVID vaccine. Right. So shareholder value went up tremendously during the pandemic.
Right.
Now they need to find another basically thing, or they need to basically crush the competition. So that's basically what they're doing, unfortunately. But it's detrimental to to the population, because stem cells do work really, really well. I mean, we've seen tremendous results and outcomes from the use of regenerative medicine like exosome stem cells.
And is that localized? Is stem cell treatment localized, or is it total body?
It can be localized, what we call an interarticular joint injection. So let's say if you have a shoulder issue or a knee issue, you can actually inject right there. Or you can't necessarily use stem cells in what we call a systemic application,
right,
in an IV. Exosomes you still can. So you kind of towing the line with the FDA there.
Yeah. Interesting. Have you done stem before?
Yeah.
And did you get a good?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, knees, shoulders. I played tennis for 15 years growing up. Yeah, I got beat up.
So you could tell an actual difference.
Yeah.
Really? And how long does that take?
Typically 2 months.
Okay.
It takes a little bit of time, but yeah, definitely.
Your body's regrowing.
Yeah, bringing down the inflammation. Basically, it's signaling all the growth factors, cytokines, to basically fix everything.
Okay, cool. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, they could go to 4bpm.com. They're going to probably fill out a little form, schedule a call. Let's help them understand what they might encounter when they go to the website.
Sure. It literally just explains what we do, and we always offer a free consultation. Spend 30 minutes with each potential patient, and we just say, hey, okay, listen, what is it you want to accomplish? Because if we don't understand where you're coming from, then it makes it a little more difficult to say, okay, this is how we're going to craft your particular protocol. So, for example, I had a patient who's been very interesting, a younger gentleman. First,
I'm sure you have plenty of interesting patients.
Well, you're one of them.
Yeah, right.
So his first goal was to lose weight.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did that for the first 6 months. Then he's like, okay, I want to do 29 on 29, which is where you climb a mountain the same elevation as Mount Everest. So basically, climb up, gondola down, climb up. It took him like 14 hours to do it. And I was like, hey, congratulations. And he's like,
you do that 29 times?
However many times to get up to 29 on 29. So you basically keep climbing up until you reach like the summit of Mount Everest on a different.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, congratulations. Now what? He's like, now I want to be a professional bodybuilder. Like, okay, great. Awesome. So yeah, we just basically changed the protocol to say, if this is what you want to accomplish, this is the best way to provide your body with raw materials.
Mm-hmm. So you really just align with the outcome desired.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. That's
wild. We evolve as you evolve.
Yeah. I feel like there could also be an education course or roadmaps. I think that's more what I was thinking. Educational roadmaps on, what that might look like if you are training for, a competition or MMA or bodybuilding. Yeah. Just so people can kind of see the type of journey that they might have to go on, right? That you could help them with. I think that would be kind of cool. Which journey, like almost a selector or options, just kind of brainstorming. Yeah, so they can reach out to you for bpm.com. And I'd also like to encourage everybody, individuals like Ben Lee is the exact type of person you are going to be sitting across from at a board of advisor meeting. This is a environment of founders, the CEO, the decision maker, the investor, the chairperson, the individual that is actually making all the tough decisions. When somebody on the team can't solve it, you're solving it. I mean, when something goes right, of course, you get some credit, but when it goes wrong, obviously, and nobody can fix it, you still have to fix it. So if you're in that chair of being an owner, founder, CEO, that responsibility chair, then sitting across the table from individuals like Ben and all the other individuals that we are interviewing on the Board of Advisors podcast, that's the community that we built, and that's who we're inviting you to not only have a conversation with, but to meet in person and then to build a real relationship at an upcoming meeting. So I appreciate all your time. Thank you for being here in the studio live today. Yeah. And it's a pleasure having you as part of the VA community.
Yeah, really glad I joined.
Awesome. Boom.